Hi all, it's Teresa in Gemma's house. Well, I've been in my new house for 4.5 months now, and I'm really tired of these bare white walls in my main bedroom. I'm an artist, so I really do need color on my walls. And I also want to do a nice wall treatment in here too. So this is the before video, and even though I have a lot of color in here, I really still want color on the walls, especially in my bedroom. I like it to be kind of like an enclosed feeling, kind of like a cocoon. And I took inspiration from these pictures I saw from a video I was watching on YouTube of an old manor house someplace in England. And I love these brown wood paneled walls. It's so warm, and especially this big fireplace. I really do love it. And this picture from Pinterest too. So I decided to go with this molding. It is 4.5 inches. What I'll do is I will turn it upside down so that these grooves are at the bottom. For all of the boards that will go horizontally and vertically on the wall, I'm going to go with this 3.5 inch molding. These are 12 feet long, that's very good, and they have a 10-pack too. I'm also going to buy this trim to put around that window because I want to have the moldings go right up to the trim on the window. And to add a very thin ledge at the top of the very top molding, I'll buy these strips, 1x2 white wood. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what this is costing me, I bought 5 tubes of Loctite construction adhesive, 2 tubes of painter's caulking, and this 10-pack of 3.5 inch wide flat molding, 5 pieces of the 4.5 inch groove molding, that's going to be on the very top, 5 furring strips, and 3 moldings for around the window, and with tax and everything it came to $285. And I think that's pretty good, less than $300 to transform this whole room by doing this wall treatment. And then I will have the cost of buying brown paint because I'm intending to paint it brown. So I'll design as I go like I usually do. Okay, so the first step was to draw a level line at the 5-foot mark all the way around the room. So the way I did it was to just use a level, and I went all the way around the room. So my next step is to add this molding around this window. And I'm going to cut 45-degree angles in these 2 corners. I'm going to have the molding flush with the corner of the window there, and then I will run the wall molding right up to this molding. Okay, so I just used tape to hold the molding onto the wall until the adhesive takes hold. And that adhesive grabs really fast. That's why I use that one. And it does hold, it's very strong. So I just pressed it against the wall to make sure it has a nice tight fit. Okay, so the rest of this molding is just going to be done the same way I did the molding around the window. Okay, so I'm ready to cut the molding that will go into the corner, and that has to be cut at a 45-degree bevel cut. So the 2 corner joints will fit up into each other. When I join 2 lengths of molding together, I want both of those edges to fit into each other with a 45-degree bevel cut. That way you don't see the seam as well. They fit into each other better than just butting two pieces of molding up together. And I also made sure I had the longest piece of molding centered on this wall. And then I'll have two other pieces on the sides because I didn't want a seam right in the middle of this wall. Just to minimize that you will see seams when you're looking right at the bed. Okay, so I got the very top molding on, and I hope you can see the vertical lines here. It took me a while to figure out the measurements between these vertical boards that I'll be putting on these walls. It took a while of measuring, remeasuring. The width between these boards on this wall is not exactly the same as the width between these vertical boards on this wall. It was the same on this wall too. These measurements between these vertical boards are not the same as this wall. But if I step back and look at all of the walls together, I think it will work just fine. So I'm happy with this. I'm gluing this, but if you have a nail gun, you can use a nail gun. But I don't have a nail gun, and I always try to do my projects without buying additional tools. And this glue, I've done wall treatments before just using construction adhesive, and it worked fine. Okay, so I'm ready to put the bottom molding on right along the top of the existing baseboard. I'm going to start this piece in this corner. And my second long piece here, this is 12 feet. So I'm going to start the corner over here. And I'll just have to add another piece at the end here. And that way the seam here won't be very visible. It will be behind the headboard and bed. Okay, so a couple snafus I came across. This bottom molding that I glued to the wall, it's 3.5 inch MDF molding. It's actually baseboard. So one side is cut square and the other side is cut rounded. This is supposed to be on the top because it's baseboard and you want this to be on the floor. Well, for my purposes, since I will be putting vertical MDF molding here, I want the square cut to be at the top. Some of them I noticed while I was putting them on, and one long length I didn't notice. But I will be able to caulk any gaps and you won't see anything wrong at all. The other issue I came across is I hadn't considered the thicknesses of these moldings well enough. This top 4.5 inch MDF molding, because of these grooves, it bevels down to about 1/8 of an inch thickness at the very bottom. So my vertical moldings are almost 1/2 inch, so it would create a real big gap at the top. And I didn't want to have to chance caulking that and maybe you would still see it, or trying to make a bevel cut in the back to try to get it a little more flush to the molding. So to avoid all of that uncertainty and work, I just decided to add another 3.5 inch MDF molding below the top molding. So I wanted to mention those snafus to you. So if you're doing a similar project, you can watch out for those issues too. Okay, so I decided to make one last minute change. For the thin ledge at the very top of the top molding, I decided to make a thinner ledge. So I bought these moldings that are 3/8 of an inch thick, 1.5 inches wide. The other whitewood furring strips were 3/4 of an inch thick and 1.5 inches wide. They would have been more difficult to cut, and they would have made a thicker ledge, but I decided to go with a thinner ledge. So that's a nice thin ledge. There won't be any weight on there. It's just decorative to create a nice finished look, and also it casts a nice shadow to make it more dimensional. Okay, so I finally have all the moldings on the walls, and my last step will be to add caulking to all of the gaps. I really love the way it turned out. I'm really happy with it, and I'm so happy to be finished with all of the cutting of these moldings so I can clean up this mess. These are the colors I'm strongly considering. All of the moldings, including this thin ledge and the lower parts of the walls, will be this nice, rich, dark brown color. For the walls, I'm considering either this green or this green. This green I had in my last house in my main bedroom, and I absolutely loved it. It was so relaxing, calming, peaceful, and it was just a beautiful color. My paintings and everything looked super nice on the walls too, with this dark, rich green. So this morning I did the caulking on most of the walls, and I have to admit that is the worst part of painting for me. It is so boring to do the caulking, but I have to say it looked 100% better. And I just couldn't wait to get this paint on the walls to see what it looked like. And once again, I'm using this Sherwin-Williams Showcase paint. I've used this so many times in decorating my previous homes, and it's one coat coverage guaranteed. And I have found that it does cover in one coat. With my textured walls in this house here, I really do have to load up the roller for it to cover in one coat. And look with this color, it looks like chocolate pudding. I use a small brush to get into the creases of these moldings up against the window and door trims. I'm going to leave those white. And I put painter's tape along the baseboard because I am going to paint all the way to the floor. Okay, am I happy or what? I'm finished with the wall treatment, and I will paint the upper part of the walls in a later project. And if you have an opinion about which green I should go with for the upper walls, please leave your choice in the comments. I would be really curious to hear. So I am really happy with the way it turned out. And it's funny that this is a brand new house that I bought, but it looks like I'm always trying to make it look like an older house. And I grew up on the East Coast in the United States, and I'm used to those old 3-story brick houses that have a lot of charm, personality, and lots of interesting details. And this is one of them. You might have noticed that I never showed the fourth wall. This is because I am planning a future project of making a fireplace here, a faux fireplace, of course. And this was my original inspiration this old country manor house in England. And if you're considering doing a project like this, make sure you have the proper tools that you'll need and experience or a good understanding of how to use those tools too. Let me know in the comments too what you think of this color or any other comments you might have about this project. I would be really happy to hear. So I'm really happy to be finished with this project, and I can't wait to start using this bedroom again. It's so cozy, and I will be painting the top part of the walls pretty soon. And if you like this video, can I ask you to please give it a thumbs up, and please consider leaving me a comment below too. And if you subscribe to my channel, you'll see that I have a lot of different videos doing a lot of different types of creative projects. I love to quilt and do acrylic paintings, and I'm also doing some projects in my new backyard too. So I'm having so much fun with all of those. And Gemma likes the new bedroom too. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.